My roommate warned me not to look under the bed, but I'm pretty sure there was something under there making those sounds. It all started when I moved in. He said, "Hey, listen, don't ever look under the bed at night. Whatever you do, don't look under your bed tonight. Here's why," he says, leaning in close. "There's something under there, it'll kill you." I laughed it off. I didn't believe him for a second. There was no way that some monster was lurking under my bed waiting to attack me. Still though, that night I couldn't help but occasionally glance at the bed while I was lying there. Maybe just the imagination, right? Then every night around 3 a.m. I would hear a loud crash from under the bed, and then the scratching would begin. At first it was just light tapping, but then it got more intense. Then I would hear what sounded like heavy breathing. My heart would race and I would start to panic. I would try to convince myself that it was nothing, that I was just being paranoid. But it kept happening night after night. Then one morning after, of course, not sleeping at all, I decided to get to the bottom of this. I told my roommate I was going to check under the bed when he wasn't there. He begged me not to, but I wasn't going to let some imaginary monster win. So when he went to work that day, I stayed home and waited. Of course, nothing happened. That afternoon, my roommate came home and I told him I had checked. He looked pale and scared, like I had actually found something horrible. He asked if I had seen anything, but I told him no. He sighed a breath of relief and said, "That's good." He looked down at his feet and seemed embarrassed. He then began pacing back and forth, running his hands through his hair. I asked, "What's going on? What is under the bed?" Finally, he stopped and looked at me. His eyes were red and watery, like he hadn't slept well. He took a deep breath. "I'm sorry I never told you this before, but I should have known that you would find out eventually." He looked away again. "There really is something under there, something evil." I knew he was holding something back, so I pressed him. "What did you see?" "It doesn't matter what I saw," he replied. "You don't want to know what I saw." "Why not?" "Because it's going to be under my bed tonight, isn't it?" He finally nodded. Then he told me how 3 years ago, before he got married, he lived alone in this apartment. One night he heard a noise under his bed, just one noise. At first he thought maybe it was just a pipe or something. But then every night for weeks he would hear that same noise. One night he couldn't take it anymore, so he decided to investigate. He used a flashlight and looked under the bed. At first he didn't see anything, but then in the farthest corner he saw what he described as a pair of eyes. Eyes that didn't belong to any animal he recognized. They were yellow and glowed faintly in the darkness. He froze and stared back at them. Suddenly a hand shot out from under the bed and grabbed his ankle. He screamed and kicked at it, trying to get it off. The more he struggled, the tighter its grip became. Then he felt something sharp pierce his skin. He cried out in pain and fear and scrambled backwards. That's when he saw more eyes open up under the bed, along with rows upon rows of sharp teeth. He backed away, tripping over his own feet, and then he turned and ran. He never looked under the bed again until I moved in, and began hearing the same sound he had heard all those years ago. "So what do we do?" I asked him. "How do we get rid of whatever it is that's under there?" "I don't know," he said, his voice shaking. "All I know is that we need to leave this place." We decided to move out the next day. When we went to look under the bed, we didn't see anything, at least at first. Then I saw it. A small pair of eyes staring up at me from the darkness under the bed. I screamed. My roommate gasped and grabbed the nearest object, a baseball bat. He swung it wildly under the bed, hitting whatever was hiding there. It made a loud noise, a noise that sounded like nails on a chalkboard. Then it began to move faster. It scratched against the wooden floorboards, moving toward the bed. We watched in horror as it climbed up the side of the bed and onto the mattress. Then it lunged toward me. I don't remember screaming, but my roommate did. I watched in disbelief as the thing crawled over me and onto my chest. I could feel its hot, fetid breath on my face as it leaned closer and closer. I tried to push it off of me, but it was too strong. It clawed at my throat, digging its sharp nails into my skin. I felt blood trickle down my neck. The last thing I remember is my roommate wailing on the creature with the baseball bat, again and again and again. The next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed. The doctor was standing over me looking concerned. "You're awake," he said. "Good, how are you feeling?" "Where's my roommate?" I asked. The doctor looked at me strangely. "Who?" "The guy I share an apartment with," I said. "He's my roommate." The doctor shook his head slowly. "Sir, you live alone. You were brought here alone." "But I have a roommate," I insisted. "He was here last night. We were attacked by something under my bed." The doctor sighed and put a hand on my shoulder. "Look, I'm sorry, but you were found wandering around the street in nothing but your underwear. You were covered in scratches, but they weren't caused by animals. It's like someone had dragged you down concrete with their fingernails. I'm afraid you may have been the victim of a human attack." He paused. "Whoever did this to you meant to kill you. Luckily, you managed to escape. The police are still looking for your attacker, but they haven't found him yet." "I'm going back home," I said, pushing myself out of bed. "You can't go back there," the doctor said quickly. "We've cordoned off that apartment. No one is allowed inside." "Why, because of my roommate," I said, heading for the door. "He's still in there, isn't he?" The doctor blocked my path and shook his head sadly. "Your roommate died in that apartment, sir. He was found in his bed with hundreds of tiny little cuts all over his body. It's a miracle you survived." I wanted to tell him about the scratches under my bed, but suddenly I couldn't remember if they had been under my bed or under his. Or maybe it didn't matter because the scratches may not have been made by the same person. Maybe it was something else entirely. Maybe it was something that was once human. As I walked out of the hospital, I could feel everyone staring at me, whispering behind their hands. But I didn't care. I needed to get home, to my apartment. I had to see what was under my bed. And then I stopped. The apartment building I had been living in was surrounded by police tape, yellow police tape. And right there on the tape was a sign with my apartment number circled on it. They had found whatever was under my bed. And whatever it wasn't alive anymore. Well, I didn't see my roommate in there, but then I realized that I wouldn't have anyway. Not now. Because as soon as I stepped inside, I saw that my bed was empty. And under the bed, oh God, under the bed was empty. I think that whatever it was that had killed my roommate and scratched me up so badly had escaped. And somehow it had taken my roommate with it. And I heard a noise in the closet where my clothes were. I don't know what was in there, but whatever it was making a noise just like it did under the bed. So I guess the question is, whatever it was, did it bring my roommate back? Did it make him part of it? I don't want to find out. I don't want to know what my roommate saw in those eyes either. As I write this, I'm listening to the scratching. It's getting louder. Soon it will come for me too. I can feel it in the closet, waiting for me to go to sleep so it can come out and play.